Welcome to Human Rights Asia Weekly Roundup. In today's program, we will talk about two sisters gang raped in police custody in Sindh, Pakistan. Bangladesh human rights defender Adilur Khan has been released after 62 days of detention. Acquittals of the accused in Dalit massacre in India. New anti-terrorist ordinance in Pakistan will curb fair trials. This and more coming up in this week's program. Welcome to Human Rights Asia Weekly Roundup. We start in Sindh province in Pakistan, where two young sisters were gang raped in police custody over a period of 3 days by the station head officer of a police station and two head constables. This was supposedly to solve a 4-year-old case of abduction for ransom. 18-year-old Najma and 20-year-old Asma were taken into custody in the late hours of October 8 by Sub-Inspector Abdullah Awan, the station head officer of Kambara Police Station in Godki district. He was assisted by Head Constable Abdul Razak and Constable Arbelo. On the first night of abduction, both sisters were raped in the police station, and during the next 2 days, they were raped in a private house. One of the gang rape women spoke to a reporter.
इन लोगों ने छापा लगाया हमारे पे, जबरदस्ती हमें उठा के ले गए 12 बजे। हमें थाने पे लेके गए तो वहाँ जाके इन्होंने बोला तुमने बंदा अगवा किया है, लेकिन कुछ नहीं, ऐसी कोई बात नहीं थी। इन्होंने हमें वहाँ ले जाके हमारे साथ जाती की 3 दिन तक मुख्तलिफ जगहों पे लेके गए हमें, और इन्होंने शराब पी के हमारे साथ बहुत जाती की। 3 दिन तक ऐसे ही रोका रखा हमें। एक अब्दुल्लावान, एक अब्दुल रज़ाक, एक अरबेला, ये पुलिस वाले हैं, और भी पुलिस वाले थे, लेकिन उनकी पहचान नहीं हुई हमें।
Sub-Inspector Awan and Head Constable Abdul Razak were arrested 5 days after the incident on October 13 after protests from civil society and media. The third perpetrator, Constable Arbelo, remains at large. Awan threatened journalists reporting on the case that after his release, he will deal with them strictly. He also announced that when he is released, he will rape all the women of the village. It is common in Pakistan that during the investigation of a crime, police take women family members of the accused into custody and rape them to force confessions. Prominent Bangladeshi human rights defender Adilur Rahman Khan has been released after 62 days of prolonged arbitrary detention. For more details on his arrest, we spoke to Ashrafuzzaman at the AHRC.
Adilur Rahman Khan, the way he was arrested, it seemed to be a kidnapping, because the police officers, they did not have any uniform, they did not use any official vehicle, and also they did not properly introduce with their ranks and positions. So that's why, and the way they chased his car and took him, picked him up, that seemed to be a kidnapping at the first place. But later, due to the media, frequent question from the media, the police officers, they admitted that he was arrested.
Why was he arrested?
Because there are several reasons. The very latest reason is his organization, Odhikar, published a report of an alleged murder of uncountable persons who were demonstrating, a pro-Muslim group demonstrated in Dhaka on 5th May. And there are allegations that hundreds of people were killed by the state agents, and the government claimed that there was zero casualty about the incident. So Adilur's organization, Odhikar, conducted fact-finding missions, and they claim that they got confirmation from the families and witnesses about at least 61 persons who were murdered in that particular incident. So that fact-finding report challenged the official version provided by the government. That is the latest reason. There are other reasons, that there were some attacks on the Buddhist minority communities and their temples. There were allegations that the pro-government political activists were one of the key groups who orchestrated the attack, but the government also tried to cover it up. Another reason is that Odhika is the only human rights organization in Bangladesh, based in Bangladesh, who are always vocal about the border killing, the killing of Bangladeshi citizens by Indian Border Security Forces, BSF. So that causes quite a lot of embarrassing diplomatic relationship between India and Bangladesh, which the government doesn't want any human rights organization within Bangladesh to talk about the issue. So these three are the key reasons about the arrest.
How crucial for his release were human rights organizations?
It's really a very crucial event for the people of Bangladesh. First of all, that the arrest and illegal detention of Adilur Rahman was a huge threat for the entire human rights activism in the country. In Bangladesh, unfortunately, there is no civil society movement due to several reasons, and there was not any structured intellectual infrastructure in the country. But then Adilur Rahman Khan is a symbol, and there are also few other people who keeps criticizing the authorities in different regimes. So if that type of voice is completely silenced by the authorities, that means the attempt within the country to remain vocal, to raise voice, could have been entirely silenced. So this release has given the voice back to the people once again.
That was Ashrafuzzaman at the AHRC. And now over to Bihar, India. In a shocking verdict that came 16 years after the gruesome massacre of 58 Dalits, 43 of them women and children, in Laxmanpur Bath village in Jehanabad district in Bihar, the Patna High Court has acquitted all the accused, citing lack of evidence. The massacre, condemned by former Indian President K.R. Narayanan as national shame, was the most grisly in a series of such massacres allegedly carried out by Ranveer Sena, a now defunct private militia of the upper caste. In acquitting all the accused, Patna High Court has set aside their conviction by a sessions court which had given that sentence to 16 of the 26 accused. The acquittals have been severely criticized by human rights groups, who say it seems that the Patna High Court has gone on an acquittal spree, as it has acquitted almost everyone accused of massacring Dalit in 4 separate incidents in just over 18 months. The acquittals show yet again how flawed the criminal justice system in India is, where shoddy investigations fail to get convictions even in extreme cases like this, involving 58 dead bodies, including one of an infant. AHRC's Avinash Pandey said of the acquittal, "A watertight investigation will have guaranteed convictions in this case, irrespective of whatever arguments the defense could have come with. That this did not happen exposes the cracks in the criminal justice system that can be exploited by castes and other vested interests deeply entrenched in the system. The need of hour is to ensure that this miscarriage of justice is not merely reversed, but the criminal justice system is overhauled urgently and immediately." Pakistan's legislature has introduced a new anti-terrorism ordinance that will allow detention for 3 months without producing the detainee before the courts. With us now in the studio is Mr. Basir Naweed from the AHRC. Mr. Naweed, welcome.
Thank you.
Can you please tell us about the content of this new terrorism ordinance?
Actually, this is not made by the legislators. I want to correct it here. When ordinance means that it is just on the requirement of the government makes that one. Okay. They don't take the legislators into confidence. So this is a kind of you say a unilateral decision of the government and not trusting on the parliamentarians. And through this ordinance, the government has given much powers to the law enforcement agencies, which they have always powers much more. Now government has given power to shoot at sight, that any suspect person they feel they can shoot at sight through this ordinance. The other thing is that the law enforcement agencies, including military, have been given the power to keep any suspect for 3 months, and that person cannot be produced before the court. Only that after 2 months of his or her detention, the government can just submit before the court that this person is with us, and otherwise there is no question of producing that person before the rule of law.
In your opinion, what are the implications of this new ordinance?
Actually, the implications would be wide range of misuse of the power and undermining the rule of law and the courts also. Now, the legal cover has been given to the disappearances, extrajudicial killing and unfair trial, because already we have no rule of law. All the rule is governed by the law enforcement agencies. Courts are not working because of so many laws which are not allowing fair trial to the courts. People will not feel very much safe before the security agencies.
Despite all these concerns that you have mentioned, do you think that the enactment of this ordinance will help to combat terrorism in Pakistan?
It will rather generate more terrorism in the society. Already the law enforcement agencies have power, so people don't find any redress to their complaints, to their problems. Whatever the terrorism generates in the society, it is because of the misuse of the law. The more powers to the authorities, law enforcement authorities, and now you will have that we also have an endemic kind of torture in every place. In the military torture cells, military has 57 torture cells in the country and 1,300 police centers which are conducting torture inside and in the private centers. Now the torture has become a legal act. Now the disappearances, we have 6,000, 7,000 persons are disappeared in the name of anti-terrorism and in Balochistan. Now the military and the law enforcement agency can keep any person for a long, and not mentioning that they have arrested any person. They just arrest, keep, and if that person was died due to torture, so it is okay. Nobody will know that where is that person and how he died. So extrajudicial killings and disappearances will increase. So there would be a retaliation from the masses, and when people will find no relief from the courts or law, then they will resort for the terrorism. So the ordinance itself means it is for the bad intention when there is a parliament. So why there was a need to have the ordinance? That means that government does not want to have the debate in the parliament. So this is illegal, unconstitutional and with the bad intention.
Also in the news this week, the Chief Judge of the Constitutional Court of Indonesia has been arrested for alleged bribery linked to disputed regional elections in Kalimantan. The Nobel Peace Prize was this year awarded to the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, or OPCW, disappointing many who had hoped for a win by Pakistani schoolgirl Malala Yousafzai, who survived being shot in the head on a bus by the Taliban for promoting education for girls. Sri Lankan media reported that the government has banned protests in Colombo in November to provide security to the Commonwealth's Heads of Government Meeting, or CHOGM. The government has denied the report. That is all for this week's Human Rights Asia Roundup. Thank you for joining us and hope to see you again next week.